Hello and welcome everyone. Let's start our discussion panel with Chris. Would you introduce yourself, Chris, please?
Yeah, sure. So I'm based here in New Zealand. It's actually 20 to 1 a.m. already. So a long day for me, but I'm happy to be here and glad to meet everybody. I'm a digital engineer and director at a company that specializes in BIM and the AEC space. And I'm also a software developer and working on some new AI tools and structural engineering.
And I am Mohammed Al-Dasuki, a BIM manager and a member of the R&D team at D1 Architects and Engineers. We are based primarily in the UAE. However, we also have several branches around the world in Egypt, Iraq, Manila, and Vietnam. And the panel discussion today will be about the open source softwares and its impact on the commercial and AEC industry. So, Chris, what's your take on that subject?
Yeah, as a software developer, of course, it's interesting because it's great to see free tools available. Like I'm sure everybody is familiar with D-Roots, who's producing a lot of Revit add-ins and really great tools. But then also as a business person, I wonder, how it pays the bills. It takes a lot of resources, to build tools and develop them, and it's a skill, it's a profession. So why would you develop stuff and give it away for free? How do you make a living? So I guess nobody is doing it for free. There's always some, marketing strategy behind that, whether it's brand awareness or being able to um, influence the market to gain trust in what you're doing as a company, and establish your level of competency, and then gaining work and clientele from that, or whether it's through advertising or whatever the case might be. But I'm just curious. We've been using Revisto, just to name an example, on projects here in New Zealand, and it's costing us $300,000, for Revisto licenses on a project, and it's quite ridiculous. And then you look at something like Open Project that's on GitHub, and it's open sourced, and you think, how much work would it take for us to actually develop something that could have a really good, let's say, the Forge API built into Open Project, for example? It's going to cost us less than $300,000 to do it, and we can use it for life on every other project. So my question is, what do people think about that, and what do you think about that? Do you think we should start looking at our own solutions? Do you think we can create something that is equally as good as what's available in the commercial space, or do we just continue paying the steep license fees and accept that it's better?
So I believe that's a good question. However, we have like a bargain here to compare with. It's either you pay a small, well, it's not a small, I cannot say small, it's relatively smaller than the capital that you're going to start the software with, like the initial cost, as we call it in professional terms. However, paying that initial cost will save you on the long run, let's say for the next 3 to 5 years. How, like, if you compare it with the 3 to 5 years subscription or cost that you're paying for a paid or a commercial product, it will save you a lot of money if you compare to that. But the thing is, or the counterpart to it, is that would you have the revenue source or the projects that you're gonna 100% be sure that you're gonna use that made or invested software in for the same amount of time? Like, it's the trade-off of capital investment security. But however, also it's a part of being a developer, like being a software developer like yourself, or having some kind of a developer knowledge like myself. We know it's not that easy to gain and apply this knowledge. And also, it's not about programming knowledge only. It's about having an AEC background and a professional construction background so that you can exactly know what to address and how to implement it within the construction software. Because at the end of the day, we are developing that open source software to serve the AEC industry. It's not like any IT developer can develop it. Am I right?
It's true. I've been searching because my hands are full. I don't have time to invest in another product with everything I'm busy with. So I've been searching for some developers to help us out, and we figure even if we have to pay for it, which of course we are prepared to do, it's still going to be cheaper if we develop a solution that is going to release us from those steep license fees, and we can make it available to everybody. Part of the open source licensing is we can't just now lock it down and try to sell it. If we develop on open projects, for example, then we have to make the source code available, which we'll be happy to do because it gives us an
Exactly.
edge on the projects we work on. We're not trying to push anyone else out of the market. We're trying to give ourselves an advantage. And if others benefit from that also, then great. So, but the point is, it's true what you say. Finding software developers who understand, the AEC industry is really rare and scarce to find. But then I thought, okay, I'm not really a web developer. I'm more of a desktop developer. But how much would it take to invest some time in that? And I don't know if you guys have come across the open source that open company. It's called That Open Company. They
That open
market
company.
a lot on.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, they used to be called IFCJS, and they're developing an open source web platform for IFC web browsers, 3D model web browsers, but with a lot more around it. And they recently had like a BIM Masters developer course that they were selling on LinkedIn, and I thought, I was curious to actually see what it's all about. And I decided, okay, I'm gonna pay the 1,000 US dollars and use that as R&D and go through the course and try and instead of me trying to teach myself, it's quicker to learn something that's already prepared and tailored, and see if that could help me to then formulate some product of my own. And I don't think it's just me doing that. I think there's a lot of people. It sounds like you're doing the same thing, Mohammed. I think a
That's
lot of
that's
people are starting.
definite. Like
But can we do this ourselves? If we have resources like OpenAI's ChatGPT and Google Bard and all these other massive resources where we can quickly generate code or ask it to generate code on our behalf, and if you know just enough, you can tweak and fine tune that produced source code from ChatGPT, and you can actually apply it. So we could do stuff we weren't able to do before.
that's actually another interesting point because like it is not like a magical wand of using ChatGPT or this AI code or something like that because like um, on one hand, I myself also personally used it in developing some of our dashboards in Power BI and simple DAX coding and all of that. However, when you try to implement it in more complex code like an API understanding over Python for PyRevit and all of that, sometimes it just invents classes that are not on the code. So again, we go back to the knowledge point. Currently, I'm like finalizing my Python programming courses and also interested in revisiting the C sharp. So yet again, I'm finding myself a half programmer, but yet again, also with the job applications and with the time in hand, it becomes more and more difficult to invest more time in that and fostering and doing your own works. But what I believe in, the open sources, like the open source fostering companies and websites and hubs like GitHub, for example, that's like a holy grail for all of us. It will take over the market, but would it be like the question is, would it be like a D-Roots concept, which is, I believe now, up until now, they are, you can call them a freeware, like they are publishing and updating and developing their tools for everybody to use without using without having it as an open source and without it having it licensed. They are depending on that. Guys, this is our capabilities as an advertisement tool. If you want something more sophisticated, come to us and we can do it. And as we pointed earlier, that's the scarcity of the combination between the AEC knowledge and the software development knowledge. So I believe, in my humble opinion, that the roots uh, is up until now the most successful company that could achieve that hard equation.
I agree. Yeah, I've actually had some dealings and conversations with the team at D Roots, and we were actually working on a proposal for a smarter digital twin system for one of the local New Zealand councils, and unfortunately, we weren't able to get that mentality across the government sort of
Uh-huh.
scope yet, but we tried, and it would have been an excellent, I guess, an excellent project. But yeah, I think they're doing a great job, and I think they're doing it the right way. It's, you give a little bit, and see what comes back, and they seem to be very successful. They're not open source though. It's free, but it's not open
Exactly.
source.
It's not open source. Yeah.
Whereas something like open projects, I don't know if you've seen open project on GitHub. It's completely
Un
open source,
Unfortunately, I
but
still did not interact with it, but that's for me, that's like a big sign that I have to check
it's really
that
good.
one up. Yep.
It actually handles BCF, so you can handle clashes and issues in it. There's a Revit plugin that's sort of kind of working, but with a bit of tweaking, you can improve it. And it's a project management tool that's actually got a 3D viewer built into it. But the 3D viewer is not that great. And what I was thinking is, what if you took the Autodesk Forge viewer and technology and integrated that with Open Project? Then you would have a fantastically powerful product that
Oh
is
yeah.
web. So, you know, but the the question is, and the issue is, you can't market that and make it closed source. Part of the licensing agreement with, on open projects is that whatever you adjust in the source code, you have to make available, as it was made available to you. So you have to accept that you're going to spend time and money developing a product that you're not going to sell. But this is not the point. We're spending $300,000 per project on licensing for Revisto. As an example, I'm not targeting Revisto or any product. How much do we spend on Revit and this package and that package? I'm saying
There's Revit, and there is BIM 360, and there's so many, and there's
everything.
Bentley, and there's Celery. There's lots of commercial BIM related
Yeah.
software that we all
So
pay this amount of money
a
for.
huge amount. So if we cut out $300,000 per project, then we already made our money. And if we are able to brand it and say that we developed it, then of course it's market awareness. And if we help a bunch of people because it's free, all you have to do is learn how to set it up yourself. Then you gain trust and a big following in the community. So I think it's a smart business model.
And I think also it's coming onto the way of Revit, because I don't remember actually the open source software name. However, the past week over LinkedIn, I saw a video talking about a native web-based IFC modeling tool, which, imagine that you have an open source free equivalent of Revit.
That sounds like the open companies IFC, because they're busy building that. So they initially had a IFC web-based viewer platform, previously called IFCJS, like I mentioned. Now they're
Mhm.
called an open company, but they're actually now working on a new thing, which is what they're saying. It's what you're saying is building a sort of a web-based BIM tool, and I think it's got a long way to go. But you have to start somewhere.
Exactly.
Um, at the moment, I don't think there's any serious competitors for Revit. I mean, of course, there's ArchiCAD and Tekla and all of those, but they are very focused for specific disciplines. A multidisciplinary, parametric sort of system such as Revit. In my experience, there hasn't been anything that can really compete with it at that level, and it would be great to see some competitiveness in the market. I enjoy using Autodesk products, but I don't enjoy the fact that there's a monopoly and no competition, and you're kind of not left for you're not spoiled for choice.
Exactly. Yeah. Again, it is part of the dependability on it since CAD days. You remember that? Like, it's since AutoCAD, Autodesk have been trying to get the AEC umbrella. But anyway, so back to our point, and that was for Bilal and Wajdi, that what is the impact of the open source developed software that's being privately developed within the architecture or the AEC practices will impact the commercial based software at first and the AEC industry as a second?
Well, in my opinion, the software development area or field is like a big pool. There's like big fish in it and small fish. The open source platforms and softwares, it will play a major role in if you want to develop something in house for your own uses, for your own objectives within your company, or with as an individual or a company. There will be the big players in the market similar to Autodesk or ArchiCAD, Rhino, any other software, big software developer. They will be there, and they will always dominate the market share of software in terms of BIM tools. The open source, as I said, it's gonna be playing major role if you want to develop something in house. Uh, get feedback from everyone else, get it on GitHub, develop it, keep developing it, but it won't be at a point where it can compete with the current players in the market. This is my takeaway of the current scenario in the market.
Well, we're not talking about like a heads-on competition. Like you cannot have, let's say, a team coming from the fourth English league and making it play against Liverpool or Manchester United. You cannot do that.
You can't have
So,
underdogs anyway.
but the thing is, like again, with the example that we've taken, you have again, it's not open source, but I believe that there is no AAC practice around the world that they're not using the, for example, a plugins like droots or plugins like PyRevit or something, or all the stuff that's being. It's not like a major software that can directly compete, but it developed a habit of dependability on it as well to fast
Similar to
forward,
Dynamo.
similar to Dynamo.
Dynamo, it
Although
was like a separate standalone software, and now it's
although
being
Autodesk, yeah.
installed. Exactly.
But
So
that's what we're taking. Like it always start with the small small something that the big guys missed or left on purpose. God knows why.
well, similar PyRevit, droots, similar. They will go through the path similar to Dynamo. At some point, they will a decision be made whether to get it involved or not. But it needs to stay in the market for at least 3, 4, 5 years to get developed, get the dependability you're talking about.
Mhm.
Then they will start looking at, let's get it involved. Let's get it within Revit.
Exactly, and that's on the commercially available software now. And the second part was what's the impact of that on the AEC industry as a whole? Like as we're talking now, like we can have several private practices developing some stuff for their internal or their use, not
Yeah.
to have it commercially available. But what if the majority of the practices started to go down that path? How that will affect the AEC industry?
It will boost it in a way. It will levitate the level of competency or the competition
Hmm.
between companies or between firms within the AEC industry, as who's gonna be utilizing that open source better, who's gonna doing something new about using that open source within their workspace or workforce.
Do you
So
think
it
it
will
can? Do you think it
go.
can reach the level of having a competition between the? I wouldn't say the quality because the quality is assured for every practice that's practicing in the field, but it will be a competition in the type of service that's being provided. Let's say how, what, and is being provided, and at what time.
Well, it will. It will. As I said, it's gonna be based on who can utilize it better and who can
Mhm.
utilize it faster and get it involved more to serve their projects and to serve their clients' needs.
So we are all agreeing it will be in the positive direction.
Sorry,
Absolutely,
guys, we only have about
absolutely.
1 minute left on this panel discussion, okay?
Okay. Yep. Thank
Okay,
you, Aubrey.
absolutely.
Okay. So, let's say it's not going to address the fear that it might take somebody's. Or and let's put it in a plain way without any rewording. Like it's not going to take somebody else's job. You know.
Absolutely not. Not anytime soon.
Because that's again, as we all agree, that's the fear of any new implemented technology. Am I right?
Agreed. Agreed on that.
What about your opinion, Chris?
Yeah, it's the same with AI. I think, we're trying to say that we can do a lot of stuff with AI, and it's true, but it doesn't mean it's going to take away structural engineers, for example. You still need someone with knowledge and experience. It's a tool, just like Revit. Revit didn't replace
Absolutely.
architects,
Exactly.
so the same with AI. It's not, maybe it'll replace some jobs in the future for sure, but those will develop and migrate. We don't need someone to be a phone operator anymore. That job doesn't exist anymore. It doesn't mean those people are living on the streets. It meant they become something else. They developed and evolved with the technology, and I think the same is happening with AI. And yeah, you transform and move forward.
Evolve.
CAD drafters evolved to BIM modelers. It's a natural process.
Absolutely.
Guys, I'm
That's
going to have to end this session, but it sounds like you still have an awful lot to discuss offline or elsewhere. But we need to end this so that we can continue with the other presentation. So thanks a million for your time today. Much
Thank
appreciated.
you, Audrey. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you,
Everyone.
everyone. Cheers.
Bye.
Cheers.